In the suburban enclave of Phoenix, Arizona, Connie, once a celebrated Olympic racewalker, found herself ensnared in a midnight arrest within the confines of her own residence. As she surrendered without resistance, her mind drifted back to the events that had led her to this point. Despite her athletic triumphs, Connie's fame and fortune had waned. She now shared a strained existence with her husband, Rick, a meticulous IRS auditor. Their longing for children had led them down a costly path of fertility treatments, but heartbreak struck when Connie's pregnancy ended in miscarriage. Rick's response was to accept a demanding travel position, leaving him absent for 3 weeks out of every month. During his brief returns, his demeanor toward Connie turned caustic. He ceaselessly berated her for her unemployment, for the financial losses incurred during their fertility endeavors, and for her excessive couponing. Connie's obsession with coupons was no exaggeration. She amassed a staggering collection of coupons, using them to purchase items in bulk and store them in the nursery, a bittersweet reminder of her lost child. The upside of Rick being away more often is that Connie has the opportunity to connect with her neighbor Jojo, who runs a YouTube channel focused on frugality and is equally obsessed with coupons. Jojo resides with her mom, Josie, and is struggling to find employment due to having her identity stolen recently. In her downtime, she flirts with Earl, the mail carrier, and tries to sell cosmetics door to door, though it's not going very smoothly either. Whenever Connie shops, she hands cashier Greg stacks of coupons for her items. It holds up the line briefly, but it slashes her bill from over $100 to just $16. Connie always claims that if you take care of the small change, the big bucks will follow. One day, as she's stocking the shelves with groceries, she gets upset when she notices the baby-themed wallpaper peeking out of one of the boxes, leading her to binge on cereal in an attempt to soothe her sadness. The cereal, however, is stale, and in a fit of frustration, Connie sends an angry email to the cereal manufacturer to complain. A few days later, Connie gets a coupon for free cereal in the mail along with a note. When she goes to redeem it with a smug look, Greg tells her she's not unique, as all companies send free coupons to customers who complain. This sparks an idea in Connie, leading her to write a ton of letters to various companies, even when there's nothing wrong with the products, and she ends up with a massive collection of freebie coupons. Connie shows them to Jojo, who is amazed by this method and even offers to buy one from Connie, as it's still cheaper than the full price. Her suggestion makes Connie realize that selling free items would give her a 100% profit, and she sees it as a lucrative business idea. After doing some research online, she finds out that the coupons are printed in Mexico, which isn't too far from where she lives, so they could drive there and steal a bunch to resell. Jojo is hesitant at first but, overwhelmed with debt, agrees to join in. Meanwhile, in Nevada, a loss prevention officer named Ken is busy at a local store. When a cashier has trouble with a coupon, Ken investigates and quickly identifies it as counterfeit. The manager asks if they could accept it anyway, as the elderly customer has been loyal for years, but Ken declines because rules are rules. His lack of courtesy angers the old woman, who hurls insults at him. A similar scenario unfolds later on his flight back home, when a mother politely asks Ken to swap seats with her daughter so she can see the landing and feel more at ease. However, Ken declines rudely, claiming it's an important lesson the child should learn. Once he finally reaches his empty apartment in Utah, Ken angrily shouts at the television out of frustration. The following day, in Mexico, Connie and Jojo arrive at the coupon facility and watch the workers finishing their shifts. They decide to approach Alejandro and Rosa, a couple already bending some rules but who don't seem too dangerous. Connie and Jojo tail the couple in their car, making them fear they're about to be mugged, but once Connie and Jojo explain they're seeking help, Alejandro and Rosa invite them over to talk at their home. It turns out Rosa is expecting a baby, and their wages are terrible, making it easy for Connie and Jojo to present their proposal. If the couple steals coupons for them, they'll sell them later in the US and split some of the profits. Alejandro isn't sure if it's the best idea, but Rosa persuades him to do it for their baby's future. Coming up with a plan is fairly simple. The factory is split into two sections: printing, where Alejandro works, and redemption, where Rosa is employed. Typically, one side doesn't know what the other is doing. For every coupon they print, there's always an extra one that should be discarded, but Alejandro can send those extras to Connie and Jojo when the trucks distribute goods throughout the USA. There won't be any issues at the border because all they'll see is a box full of coupons, not any unlawful activity. A few days later, the pair receives their first shipment of coupons, so they create a simple website to sell them and advertise it on Connie's channel. Their business rapidly takes off, generating substantial profits, but the supermarkets start noticing the trend as well. Ken gets flooded with letters and calls from store managers, furious over how much money they're losing, prompting him to launch a detailed investigation. Eventually, he tracks down a credit card number from one of the many purchases made using these coupons. After 11 days of digging, Ken visits a housewife who used one of these coupons and learns about the website selling them, promoted by an African American woman on YouTube. When Ken returns to his office and opens the website, he spots the slogan, "Take care of the pennies, and the dollars will follow." Meanwhile, the duo is frustrated to discover their PayPal account has been frozen due to an influx of money coming in too quickly. To defrost their frozen account, they must prove they operate a legitimate business. Unsure of the proper procedure, they resort to the dark web's renowned hacker, Tina. She chastises their reckless promotion, warning of traceable consequences. After deleting JoJo's videos, she prescribes a front business to launder their funds. They'll acquire fake identities, bank accounts, and a secure workspace. To conceal their tracks, they must refrain from spending their illicit gains for 6 months. Agreeing to a 10% fee, Tina provides an encrypted USB stick for secure file storage. Thanks to Tina's cleverness, Ken's online pursuit is thwarted. He turns to the FBI, only to be met with dismissive skepticism. The case is relegated to Albert, a low-level desk worker with nothing better to do. Using JoJo's cosmetics brand as a facade and Tina's fabricated identities, the coupon scam resurges as a lucrative enterprise while Ken persists in contacting the FBI. After 6 months, the duo is prepared to spend their illicit funds. However, they recall Tina's warning about their dirty money and the need for laundering. Inspired by Rick's tale of a client, Connie proposes a strategy, purchasing expensive items for resale to generate clean profits. After convincing banks to provide cash for their alleged cosmetic business expansion, Connie and JoJo embark on an extravagant shopping spree, acquiring sports cars, a yacht, a private jet, and even firearms. Subsequently, they indulge in a luxurious trip to Las Vegas, where they discuss their future aspirations. JoJo plans to pay off her mother's mortgage, while Connie yearns to pursue fertility treatments again. Meanwhile, Ken receives the long-awaited call from the FBI. Albert informs him of the internet's futility due to an expert's removal of all cookie trails. However, since the coupons are still delivered through traditional mail, Albert promises to dispatch a capable investigator. 2 days later, Ken meets Simon, a postal inspector. Simon accepts the case and requests Ken to order samples from the website for a thorough system analysis. A few days later, the envelope arrives. Simon astutely observes that the envelope's Kansas origin clashes with the Arizona postmark, thanks to the unique online stamp numbers. He will soon be traveling to Phoenix and offers to take Ken along due to his familiarity with the area's supermarkets. Returning to Connie, she schedules a fertility clinic appointment, inviting JoJo for support as she hasn't disclosed her plans to Rick. The doctor informs her of her final opportunity, prompting Connie to opt for a donor's sperm instead of her husband's. Later that evening, Tina contacts them to inquire about the missing funds, becoming incensed when she hears their misguided explanation. By leveraging JoJo's cosmetics brand, they had already laundered the money. They must now expeditiously sell their recent purchases and discreetly redeposit the funds into the bank in daily installments. Upon Rick's return from a business trip, he notices the new television Connie acquired. She explains that she has secured a sales position and no longer utilizes coupons. Rick is thrilled by this, calling her his new wife, which solidifies Connie's decision to move forward with the donor treatment. Meanwhile, Ken and Simon are questioning all the cashiers in the region, searching for anyone who has noticed customers obsessed with coupons. When they get to Greg, they gather crucial details. Greg doesn't know Connie's name, but he provides a description and mentions her saying about pennies, which Ken recalls seeing on the suspicious website. The following day, they visit the local post office, hoping the staff might recognize a blonde woman into coupons. No one remembers Connie, but at the mention of coupons, they point to Earl, who has frequently watched JoJo's savings tips on YouTube. As for Connie and JoJo, selling all their goods on eBay is becoming overwhelming due to the sheer volume. During a break at a cafe, they run into 2 members of a gun club and later visit their clubhouse, bringing all their weapons to sell. JoJo delivers a fantastic sales pitch, but the leader still declines. Desperate to make the sale, the duo offers a substantial discount for buying everything, successfully closing the deal. Ken and Simon later interrogate Earl privately, but he refuses to share any information. Once he's released, he heads straight to JoJo's place. There, he slips a note for her into an envelope disguised as regular mail mixed with the bills, which Josie unknowingly picks up without realizing its importance. What Earl doesn't realize is that Ken and Simon have tailed him and are now stationed outside, prepared to monitor the house for as long as needed. By the time JoJo gets home, night has fallen, and the men recognize her as the black woman the housewife had seen in the YouTube video. JoJo steps out of her car and begins dancing in the driveway, celebrating the successful deal she had struck earlier. The following morning, Jojo is too distracted by an argument with Josie to notice the mail and drives straight to the stash house, as usual. Ken and Simon tail her and spot Connie there, quickly realizing she's the blonde from Greg's description. Simon calls in more postal inspectors to start the operation officially. With the new details, it becomes easy for them to uncover Connie's and Jojo's real identities, especially after they show Greg a picture, and he confirms it. Later that night, Jojo can't sleep, so after checking on her mother, she heads to the kitchen for a late-night snack. Just as she discovers Earl's departure note, Simon arrives with his officers, arresting Connie, Jojo, and Josie. Following raids on their homes and the stash house, the arrests make headlines, surprising Earl with Jojo's appearance on television. During interrogations, Rick and Josie swiftly deny involvement and offer to cooperate. Jojo attempts an innocent facade, feigning ignorance of the accusations, but her incriminating videos are discovered on her computer. Connie, however, admits her guilt but is stunned by the prospect of 40 years to life imprisonment for fraud. She agrees to take full responsibility for initiating the scheme in exchange for leniency towards Jojo. Jojo is released on bail, believing Josie to be the benefactor, but it's actually Earl, who awaits her with flowers. Unfortunately, Connie's fate is less fortunate. Rick visits her solely to berate her, refusing to pay her bail, leading Connie to file for divorce. The investigation progresses, tracing the coupons to Alejandro and Rosa, but by the time of their discovery, the couple has vanished. Connie retains a costly lawyer, a decision that proves wise. On trial day, the lawyer persuades everyone that Connie and Jojo merely exploited a legal loophole, a common practice among corporations. His strategy is successful, resulting in Jojo's sentence of 10 days in prison and a year of probation, while Connie receives 11 months in jail with the possibility of parole. Simon and Ken express their dissatisfaction with the outcome, demanding answers from the state attorney. The attorney explains the judge's leniency towards the women, attributing it to pressure from the coupon brands to avoid negative publicity. For these massive corporations, the $80 million loss is merely a minor setback. As the case concludes, Simon must depart, but not before commending Ken's character and expressing his pleasure in working with him. He also advises Ken to temper his attitude somewhat. Time passes, altering everyone's lives. Ken begins to soften, making exceptions for long-standing clients with fake coupons and finally taking the plunge into online dating. Connie obtains the desired divorce, and the fertility treatment yields positive results, leaving her pregnant during her imprisonment. The authorities seize most of the scam's earnings but overlook the boxes in the nursery, assuming they contain food. Jojo rescues these boxes, aware of Connie's hidden cash stash. Reunited with Earl, they relocate to Montenegro, a non-extradition country, to launch a new scam under a different cosmetics brand, eagerly awaiting Connie's release to resume their partnership. Thank you for watching.